Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Hope everybody's doing all right today, enjoying the heat outside. Wait a couple minutes here while everybody gets logged in. So, how's your summer going? It was definitely summery last week. We had high heat and high humidity, and I tried to keep saying to myself, hey, it's Indiana in the summer, but it really was more like Indiana in July than it is Indiana in June, that's for sure. But cooling off a little bit this week, so I hope everybody's been doing well and surviving that. As you come on in, check in the chat. Let us know where you're logging in from. Yep, I see we've got somebody, a couple people from Battleground and Lafayette, for sure. What else has been going on around as we wait for everybody to get logged in? Got a lot to talk about today. Yeah, we were off last week. We were supposed to be on, but um, schedules conspired that just didn't manage to get to back here to the studio in time for last week's live stream. So wound up taking the week off. So if you were waiting here with bated breath, I do apologize that we missed you last week, but we're back here as regular this week. So let's get ready to dive in. Let me get one more thing open here. So I'm ready to go. Here we go. All right. So, what you all want to start with? Taking over the world? Same thing we do every day? I'll probably get taken down for copyright for that, right? Hopefully not. Oh, we got another battleground. Welcome. Glad you could join us today. Get my notes to the top of the pile here. Try to get everything arranged so it's kind of in front of me here, but it's a lot. That's for sure. All right. Well, let's go ahead and dive in. What's going on around Lafayette? So the Lafayette Symphony Orchestra just this week announced their new conductor. So their last conductor, Nick Palmer. So if you've been around the Lafayette area for the last 10 or 20 years, you've only seen the LSO under one conductor. Nick has retired from the LSO, and the LSO has been looking for their new conductor for the last 2 years. They opened up an application process, and a friend of mine actually was sitting on the board of the LSO when they did this, and he told me they had 200 applications. Now, it sounds like a lot, but they were actually able to whittle down quite a number of them because apparently a number of them didn't even meet basic requirements. So it's the same old story, when you go to fill out a job application, it helps to, follow the instructions. So they whittled that initial pool of 200 applicants down over time and eventually got it down to 3. And they have spent the last season auditioning these conductors. But what was fun was they didn't just audition them. They actually brought them out here and had them work with the symphony and lead concerts as part of the normal season with the symphony, and then solicited feedback from the audience. So the audience actually got to help choose the conductor. So kind of almost a reality series for choosing the conductor. But the 6th conductor for the Lafayette Symphony Orchestra is Kellen Gray. He was, I believe, the 2nd guest conductor who came this year. And I was lucky enough to be in the audience for when he conducted the LSO. This is a picture of him here. There's a lot of junk on my screen. Let's fix that. I'm going to get rid of a few more things here. Pardon the stream of conscience here. So yeah, he programmed a program of American music, and I'm a big fan of Copeland. Of course, there's Rodeo that everybody knows. I can't remember which piece he played. I'm pretty sure it was not a piece from Rodeo. It might have been Springtime. Anyway, he played. He conducted. He didn't play. He did a magnificent job. So he'll be joining us next year as the 6th conductor of the Lafayette Symphony Orchestra. And he has a deep knowledge and roots of the African American diaspora and its contribution to the classical music repertoire. So it's going to be real interesting to see, how kind of the old world meets the new. And that's exactly the program that he programmed for us at the concert in the Springs. So if you've not been to see the Lafayette Symphony Orchestra before, you really should. They do a fantastic job for a city the size of Lafayette. To have a professional paid orchestra that plays at the level they do is really a special treat. And if you've not been to a symphony orchestra, it's not that stuffy experience that you would think it is. It's really quite fun and lighthearted. I mean, you can dress to the nines if you want. Go put on the tuxedo if you happen to have one hanging up in the back of the closet and all that. But, khakis and a polo shirt, heck, come as you are. Put on a t-shirt and come in shorts. They're not going to turn you away. My branding, the Hawaiian shirt here, that's how I show up to the orchestra, to the symphony. So you should go down to the Long Center, check out the LSO online. And I think they're working on their coming season. I don't think they have announced it yet, because Kellen is going to, of course, I was going to say help plan that, but he's going to plan that as their director and conductor and music director. So I think that's really exciting news. So go check them out. So I think that's kind of starting off on a really high positive note. And if you've watched us at all, you know that we try to stick positive and on a lighter note. We're not doing doom and gloom around here. We're not the news. We want to talk about the cool things that are going on around Lafayette and West Lafayette and Tippecanoe County and the surrounding areas. So that's a great one to start off with. If you're just joining us, though, hit the like and subscribe button so that you can stay up to date with all of the content on our channel. There are now over 100, I believe it's approaching 150. I did this number earlier and I forgot. Around 150 videos now in our library. Things like the top restaurants in Lafayette, but also things about real estate and homes in Lafayette and how to buy homes. So, all right. Again, if you have jumping in late, welcome. We're glad to have you here. Drop in the chat where you're from. We love to see where everybody's from while we're broadcasting here live from Battleground, Indiana is the address. We're not actually in the Battleground city limits, town limits, the town of Battleground, not city. Does anybody know the difference between town and city in Indiana? Well, it's got to do with your population size. So I don't know exactly what the cutoffs are, but when you get so big, you become a village, and then you can become a town, and then you can become a city. So useless, inane facts, right? Another I-65 ramp is going to close down in Dayton, down at the south end of the county, exit 168. If you're like me, that's how I refer to my exits. My exits, like I own them. That's how I refer to the exits. The northbound off-ramp from I-65 is closing. And when is it closing? On or after Monday, July 8th. So we got about 2 more weeks. So here's the map for it. So the northbound ramp is going to close. Right now, I believe it's the southbound off-ramp is closed, which really affects me. If we head down to the south side of town, sometimes it's a lot faster just to hop on I-65 rather than going through town. But that south ramp is going to open, and the north off-ramp off of 65 is going to reopen, I believe, for some resurfacing work, and it's going to be closed for a couple of months. So kind of a pain in the short term, I know for sure, that if you need to get off there, but, better to get the road closed and get the work done than not. So, it is what it is. What do they say in Indiana? There are 2 seasons. What are the 2 seasons in Indiana? Come on, you guys in the chat should know this. I forget sometimes the chat runs just a little bit behind me. So, yeah, somebody knows winter and road work. And sometimes it's kind of hard to tell when one stops and the next begins. Sometimes they overlap quite a lot. But you know what? They're working on the roads. I'm going to cheer them on for that. That's great, We're going to complain about the roads need to be worked on, and they're working on them. So, yay, highway department. Go, go, go. All right. Moving on. You guys having fun? Yeah, so last week we missed the show last week. We were supposed to have one. I really thought we were going to have one, and I probably should have been smart enough to realize that it was not a good idea to have one. I was helping run a day camp for Cub Scouts last week out at Cary Camp. Hugely involved in Cub Scouts as a family, and this was a day camp that was, the programming was about 9 a.m. till about 3 or 3:30 every day. And of course, we had to be out there early in the morning beforehand and out there afterwards, because we offered both before and after care, and then getting ready for the next day. And it took a lot, and it was pretty hot and humid last week. Now, fortunately, Cary Camp, if you don't know, it's just down the street from Meyer on the east side on 26, not too far from Faith Baptist, actually. Sorry, just Faith now. Of course, we had air conditioning in the dining hall and everything, but yeah, after our first day of camp, of course, getting ready for the rest of camp, Monday was the worst, and just didn't wind up getting back here in time. So I apologize for anybody. We did have one on the schedule, but we do so appreciate your patience. So, but while we were away at camp, a little bit of bittersweet news. Not bad news, not good news, but bittersweet news for sure. Adriana Hartmeyer lost after 16 games of Jeopardy. She's a Purdue professor and archivist who is on a winning streak. She won 15 games in a row and lost in her 16th game for a total of $351,600 in winnings. So she is now that number is not in front of me. She is one of the top all-time players of Jeopardy now. I want to say that she was somewhere around number 11 for most wins in a row. That I might have that number wrong. It's somewhere between 10 and 17, somewhere in that range. But man, she had an amazing run. I didn't get to watch all the episodes because I missed a few of the last ones, but it was exciting to watch somebody become a mega champion like that lives here. But she's going to get to compete in this year's Tournament of Champions, and I don't think there's any doubt that she'll probably do really, really well there, and then maybe she'll compete in the next Jeopardy Masters tournament. If you've ever watched Jeopardy, in the Jeopardy round, I usually feel pretty smart. I was like, you should go on Jeopardy. And if the categories are just right, I can do pretty well. And of course, along comes Double Jeopardy. I know a little less, and then Final Jeopardy is kind of hit or miss. If you watched the Masters tournament this last year, I was lucky if I knew the $200 clues in the initial Jeopardy round. Those Masters are just amazing, and Adriana was just amazing, and I have no doubt that when she plays in the Tournament of Champions, she'll show us just how amazing she is. So what's the current temperature outside where you are right now? I know you're all hooked up to all our wireless thermometers and all of that. It's a little cooler this week than it has been the last week. A little more reflective of June rather than July, right? So if you've not watched us before, just know that I'd love to be your local Lafayette real estate resource of choice. If you're looking for home in the Lafayette area, reach out to me. My contact information is below. Or you can actually click the handy dandy QR code, which is right there. Right there. If you scan that QR code, it'll take you to all of my information, or my phone and this is fun, right? Phone and email right there. Text, phone, whatever works best for you. Okay, enough of that. Enough. All right. This has been a little bit contentious. I don't like doing negative news on here, but we're not a news show. We're about the area and pointing out the cool things in the area. And then, I'm a realtor, so I'm very interested in home here in the Lafayette area. And this one is really, really apropos to both of those topics. The Area Plan Commission has approved restrictions for Airbnbs here in the area. So this has been a pretty contentious point between both neighbors and between governments, between the cities and the counties. And the cities wanting to make sure, I think rightly so, that the homes, that the neighborhoods, feel like neighborhoods and not just transient hotels. But the property owners on the other side, rightly, want to be able to profit off of their investment in their home and make use of their extra bedrooms. So they're trying to strike a balance here, but the Area Plan Commission has approved restrictions here. So West Lafayette already has restrictions in place. But the restrictions are going to be able to be applied in Lafayette and West Lafayette, in Dayton, in Battle Ground, and Clarks Hill. So each of those municipalities will be up to themselves what restrictions they want to put in place, but the county is not going to stand in their way. And that's going to apply to 4 zoning categories, the ones that you would expect. R1, R1U, R1A, and R1B, all of the residential, primary residential zones. So that's kind of a big deal there. Yeah. Hey, Zach. So, the bans are not yet in place in Tippecanoe County, but I believe West Lafayette, and I could be wrong about that, but let's do a quick check on that. West Lafayette here. Fill me in if I'm wrong. Good point. Yeah. Proposed ban is only for transient guest houses and not for single rooms or sabbatical homes. Yeah, exactly. And I'm glad you're here to help us get that just right. Like I said, there's a lot of pieces in play yet. The sabbatical homes is a very big deal in West Lafayette. There are a lot of faculty and staff at Purdue that have short-term appointments, and oftentimes, traveling with their family, and they might only be here for a year, and in some cases, 6 months. So, being able to have those short-term rental homes is kind of a big deal. So, more to come on that. But yeah. All right. Yeah, so we will definitely be digging more into that as things shake out here at the beginning of July, so that everybody's got the exact right information on that. But yeah, the headline was that the Area Plan Commission approves restrictions for local Airbnbs. So again, a contentious issue, but something to be aware of. All right, moving on. We talked about it a little bit. I don't know, a month, 6 weeks ago, something like that. Columbian Park has been undergoing some pretty massive renovations, and they're now open. My kids actually went there this morning to play. I didn't manage to get out there with them, so I don't have any pictures myself. But I think Columbian Park has always been a pretty wonderful place to go for the entire family, because they have all sorts of facilities for everybody. I mean, there are, of course, picnic shelters out there, large fields to run and play in, and then the playgrounds have just always been fantastic. And they have playgrounds for several different age groups. So down at the bottom of the hill, they have a smaller playground with smaller equipment for, kind of toddler size. And then for slightly bigger kids, they have another playground down there. And then up at the top of the hill was the largest playground, but they completely tore that out and put in a brand new one, and it just opened. And here are a couple of pictures of it. I think it's really cool. It actually has slides that go down the hill now, so they're actually taking advantage of the landscape there. So we're up on top of that big hill, makes a perfect slide. It was really interesting to watch the construction process of that ground. That's the word I'm looking for, of the ground. That's actually a poured in place rubber surface there. It's not grass, so they poured concrete, and then the rubber surface pours in place on top of it. So that playground is open. I thought it was a pretty cool thing. Have your kids been out there yet to play? And if so, did they prefer the old playground or the new? I personally think the new one looks really, really cool, but I'm not a kid. I might act like a kid someday, but I don't think my knees think that I'm much of a kid anymore, so I'll leave that to them. So that's super exciting. And again, if you've never been out to Columbian Park, you really should get out there. I mean, between those playgrounds, the zoo, which is only a few dollars a person to get in, there's the railroad that you can ride out there. There's the Swan pedal boats that are out there around the corner. And it's a few more dollars to get in, but Tropicanoe Cove, a pretty fantastic water park right there in the middle of Lafayette. If you haven't checked it out, you really kind of should. Kids were being a little nostalgic, but it eventually grew on them. Yeah, I guess if you've been out there quite a lot and all your favorites were taken away, I could see that. That's for sure. I understand why, the kids might gravitate towards the old instead of the new if it's what you've always known, as opposed to coming in and never having been there before. All right, continuing on. What else fun is going on? A couple of topics that I was supposed to talk about last week, but I think are pretty cool. A University of Indianapolis professor is going to do an archaeological survey of 800 acres of the Wabash and Erie Canal up in the Delphi area. And he's actually looking for sites to be listed on the National Register of Historic Places. So I think that's pretty cool. They do their canal days up there. I mean, we don't realize how much transportation has changed in the last 150 years. I mean, the canal system that ran here in the Midwest over to the east was just, the superhighway of the time, and it's been abandoned, and we have of course no living memory of it whatsoever. And it's so this professor Christopher Moore is going to go do some archaeological research, and it's kind of interesting to think about the fact that when you think about archaeology, like, what do you think of? I mean, I kind of know what I think of normally when I think of archaeology. I'll wait for the chat to catch up to me. But what do you think of when you think of archaeology? I mean, this is like right in our backyard, but what comes to mind? And the amount of goods they moved on these canal systems were just absolutely amazing. Because of course, on a flat bottom boat, you could get tons and tons and tons of material moving easily down the water. So, we often think that, we are the epitome of technology and high tech and the best that it's ever been. And while there's, truth to that, it's also fun to realize that, people in the past were pretty smart and had it pretty good themselves. So what I normally think of when I think of archaeology is, oh, come on, Indiana Jones, right? Um, Understanding that that's fictional, but the idea of it and the location and the time, is apropos. Digging in the ancient past, whether that's ancient Greece or Rome, um, or in ancient China, really, really, really old, thousands of years, a couple thousand years, 1,500 years, 1,000 years old, that's really old. But, stop to think about it for a minute, 150 years old, 150, 200 years, 200 years ago was 1824. I can do some simple math and get us there. Um, and nobody in living history, nobody around here is 200 years old, right? So this guy's going to go dig some stuff up, and we'll learn a little bit more about our history right here. I just think that's really, really cool, and I look forward to seeing what he finds, and maybe we'll have some more historic sites that we can visit here. All right, the temperature. Now, before we talk about the temperature, hey, hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps the channel out. Go check out all of our content. There are more than 150 videos up there now. And then you can get notified about all the cool videos that we do, in addition to our Monday night live streams every Monday at 7 o'clock here on at Lafayette Live. So the temperature is moderated a little bit this week. We're in the 80s instead of the 90s, and the humidity level has come down quite a lot, so that's good. But Lafayette Urban Ministry announced last week that they have emergency cooling station open, and that was last week. The emergency cooling station and the emergency shelter that is open every night has an additional 48 beds. The emergency shelter is 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. every day, and then the emergency cooling station is available during the day. So, if you know of somebody that is in need of emergency cooling, if their housing situation is such that they don't have air conditioning, if they can't afford to get it fixed, or whatever the case might be, reach out to Lafayette Urban Ministry. They do a really good job of taking care of the needs of our community. For those that are less fortunate, and if you happen to be in the opposite position, if you happen to be very fortunate, they could also really use your time, talent, and treasure. So if you were in a position to donate money or time or goods, they are always looking for all of those things. They're always looking for cooks to help out in the kitchen. I see regular requests for them for basics. The last one I saw was that they needed extra men's boxer shorts, but often it's things like deodorant, soap, all those sorts of things. So if you're in a position that you could help, you should reach out to LUM. The work that they do is just absolutely amazing. Next, more parking available in downtown Lafayette. So, who likes shopping downtown more than shopping at a shopping center? Any thoughts on that out there in the chat? I'd love to see what people have to say about that. So me personally, I prefer to shop downtown if I can. And here's, I mean, that's an oversimplification. Um, People are constantly, you hear people say all the time, oh, there's nowhere to park downtown. It's such a far walk. Have you ever parked at a big box store and then walked into the big box store and then walked through the big box store only to determine that the big box store doesn't have what you were looking for and then make the hike back? Those parking lots in those stores are absolutely huge. And I would say that in many cases, the walk in and out of the big box store is as long, or if not longer, than the walk downtown from your car to multiple shops. So I love shopping downtown. I think there's all sorts of interesting shops that have always been there, but I tell you what, in the last few years, the scene has really expanded a lot. There's all sorts of fun things going on down there, but there is now more parking available. The Fifth Street parking garage was undergoing a $1.5 million renovation project for more than a year. It is fully open now, so it brings a total of 405 parking spaces to the downtown area, and it's got 2 electric charging stations. So that's pretty cool. Adds a whole lot of parking there. So if you're a downtown shopper, you should check that out. All right, so let's talk about the housing market a little bit and how things are looking here in town. Just getting my windows organized again. While I do that, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on anything from our channel. New live stream every Monday at 7 p.m. at Lafayette Live, and then videos posting throughout the week about all sorts of things here in Lafayette. The latest restaurants, my favorite restaurants, what's going on in town, festivals, all sorts of things going on, how to buy a house, tours of cool houses here in town. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you stay up to date. The housing market, it's hot outside, right? Yeah, I mean it's hot outside. Outside. Windows over, right? You can clearly see the window right there. There's my backyard. Yeah, the market's been hot, but let's talk about just how hot is it. So let's look at 2024 overall to start with. So we're going to start with looking through the end of May because we haven't quite yet reached the end of June. We got another week to go or so. So we're not quite there yet, but we're getting there. But let's talk about through the end of May. So the way I like to describe real estate is that the market is, you can follow the market by following the temperature. The hotter it is outside, the hotter the real estate market is. The colder it is outside, the cooler the real estate market is. I don't know if you've ever moved in a snowstorm. I've done it once. I will never, ever do it again. Some of it is just practicality, like do you want to move in the cold and snow? Some of it is, schedules. We don't want to uproot kids and move schools in the middle of the school year. So there's less moving that's happening during the year. But let's just blast through some numbers real quick, give you a picture of what the market looks like. So number of sales, let's start with that. How many sales do you think there were in January in all of Tippecanoe County? If you've watched any of our videos before, you might know what an average number is supposed to look like. But anybody got a guess for what January was? Drop it in the chat if you do. So, all right, seeing a few numbers. So if you've watched any of our videos, a balanced market should have about 300 homes for sale at any given time here in Tippecanoe Market. And that means it's neither a buyer's market nor a seller's market. It's just a balanced, neutral market. Number of sales is not the same thing as number of homes for sale, but they are related numbers. In January, there were a whopping 99 homes sold in all of Tippecanoe County, less than 100. But now, let's follow the temperature. 109, 142, in April 155, and in May 195. All right. How long does it take to sell a house in this market? So again, if you've been with us at all, watched any of our videos, you'll hear me go on and on and on about averages versus medians. Averages are fine. They're a quick and dirty number to calculate, but I prefer medians when we're talking about this. So you take all of your numbers, and the median is the halfway point. So if you have 100 numbers, the median is the one that's in between top and bottom. So 49 of the numbers will be lower than the median. Well, if you have 101. If you have 101, 50 will be higher and 50 will be lower than the median. So the median days on market, the median days that it took a house to go from, hey, we're for sale, to sold in May, less than 1 week, 5 days, a whopping 5 days. We're talking about Tippecanoe County, all of Tippecanoe County here. That's pretty hot. It's not the hottest that it was been, believe it or not. April was 4 days, so it was actually a little hotter back in April than it was in May. Any guesses for what the median price was in Tippecanoe County? I don't know if this number shocks people anymore or not, because it's kind of been higher than it historically has been for quite a while. Would it shock you to know that the median list price in May last month, $299,900, so $300,000 was the median list price. So that's the price that people were asking for their homes. And I tell you, the number of times when I'm showing people homes or going to open or hosting open houses, and people are like, it's listed for what? People, they're gonna get that for, they're gonna sell the house for that? Nah, they're never gonna do that. So in May, the median list price was $299,900. The median sold price was $300 even. So the median sold price was actually a tick above the median list price, which means that homes are selling for slightly, very slightly, but slightly more than what they're listed for. I can't tell you the number of homes where we see people put in bids and it turns into a multiple offer situation where you wind up with 2, 3, 4, 5 competing bids out there. It's still happening. It's a hot market out there. So that's all of Tippecanoe County. I thought that was just some interesting numbers to look at, give you a little perspective. So also to go back to our temperature comparison, if we look at 2023 last year, the peak of the market was August. So we still have 3 more months, if you count the month that we're currently in, of building. But not only did the days on market build, the price built through all of that. And then it retreated a little bit into the cooler months, but then proceeded to roar on ahead. And that $299,900 median, I'm looking at all of 22, 23, and all of 24 to date. And to date, that $299,900 is the highest median price in the last 29 months. Is the market going down? Not in Tippecanoe County. Look at all these manufacturers. Look at all the high-tech manufacturers coming to the area. Look how well they've been doing. All right, so that was Lafayette, not Lafayette. That was all of Tippecanoe County. I also like to look, just because it's fun, West Lafayette. So we are now looking at numbers for West Lafayette, and keep in mind this is all of I was going to say metropolitan West Lafayette, everything within the actual West Lafayette city limits, which is a different thing than the West Lafayette School Corporation. So these are not all homes in the West Lafayette School Corporation. I'm pretty convinced there are some families who might sell their firstborn to get the rest of their kids into the West Lafayette School Corporation. There are people that are that rabid about it. It's a great school corporation. There's no doubt about it, but it holds a special, special place in a lot of people's hearts. It's pretty astounding. But in West Lafayette, the number of sales last month in May was 72. And I'm scrolling back through, and the last time it was that high was back, the last time it was higher than that was in June of last year, so about a year ago. So if the June numbers bear out what it was last year, then it will be a hot market in June. Any guess what the median days on market was in West Lafayette? I'll give you a guess. It was less than all of Tippecanoe County. I don't think that probably comes as a surprise to most anybody. The median days on market, yeah, it was 4 days. It was 1 day less than the rest of the county. 4 days. So you can put your house for sale on a Thursday, day one. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, sold that quick. Pretty astounding. It's been kind of holding there for the last several years. I mean, way back in early 2022, it was down to 2. Now there were also, I mean, that was a little while ago. It was down to 2. In the last year, in the last calendar year, so since May of last year, its low point was 3. But still, that's insanely fast. That's less than a week. I mean, 4 days. It's slightly more than half a week. All right. Median list price. What do you think? What do you think? It was $399 dead. Yep. Just under $400K. And the median sales price actually sold, actually matched $399 dead. So it's actually not too dissimilar from the rest of the county. The highest price sold last month was $429. So, you know, there are homes in Lafayette and West Lafayette that are comparably priced, that keep the numbers running similar to each other. West Lafayette tends to run a little hotter, a little higher than the county altogether. But when you're talking about the county altogether, you're talking about West Lafayette, Battleground, all of unincorporated Tippecanoe counties. So, you know, that's a large area. Last month, there was a slight delta in the list price and the sold price. Last month, the previous month's data, not last month. In April, it was $397.4 as the median list price, and the median sold price was actually under that at $383.7. So it's actually about $14,000 less than list price in West Lafayette. So in West Lafayette, I mean, you got to look at the data for the particular home, but in West Lafayette, it looks like there might be an argument to be made that you could possibly make offers for slightly less than the price listed. The overall medians for the year in 2022 was $314. In 2023, it grew to $343. And so far this year, so through May 31, $352.9, almost $353. So almost another $10,000 gain over 2023. And we still have, well, on this data, we still have 7 months to go. We will probably exceed last year. I don't think there's much doubt in my mind that that's what's going to happen. So, what do you think about those prices? Let's zoom in a little bit into some shorter time frames and some other data. Let's see how this looks. Here we go. So let's start with April 8th. Let's get rid of this and go to this. April 8th. Let's look at this data. So this was April 8th, so it is now June 24th. So about 2.5 months ago, for the week preceding, there were 61 new listings and 28 homes had sold. There were 113 listings for sale and 40 were under contract. So that's just a starting place to look at the data. So let's pop into the next set of data. Let's go to May 20th. So we're going to zoom forward by about 6 weeks. And there were only 41 new listings as opposed to the 61 in the week previous in the previous data set that we were looking at. Here, I'll bring that up. 41 versus 61, but the explanation there is that this was in the middle of spring break, and yeah, believe it or not, that actually affects the real estate market. Everybody's out on vacation, traveling, getting out of town, so the numbers were down a little bit on new listings. Number of homes sold was dead on. We had a few more active listings. This is good. What did I say? A balanced market is about 300. So we're ticking up. We're still about, in this data set, about 50% less than we should be. But, you know, it's a move in the right direction. So that is the data for May 20th. Now, let's go to this week's data, hot off the presses, as it were. So this is our market update that just came out today. 43 new listings, so only 43 new homes came on the market in Tippecanoe County this week. That's right on par with what that spring break week was. Nowhere near the 61 that it was back in April. But the important number to look at here is the active listings, 165. I think this is the highest the number has been in recent history, maybe in the last couple of years. It's still not 300, but I don't think I've seen it much over 150, even in the middle of summer last year. So that's kind of amazing that we're starting to move in the right direction. We're still only got, 43 news on the market, but I think that last week we might be looking at the same thing that we were looking at with spring break. I think that we might be looking at a little bit of a summer vacation malaise there. People out of town. It's stinking hot outside. But we're still selling in that same range. 26 homes sold. It was 28. It was 27, and now it's 26. But that 165, that might tell us a little bit of something. There are more houses for sale, but the number of homes that are being sold is holding fairly steady. What does that tell you? It tells me that maybe some homes are starting to stick on the market a little bit longer. Not all of them, because that data through the end of May showed us that the homes were still selling in 5 days in the county and 4 days in West Lafayette. But they're not all selling. So, there are some that are hanging out longer and longer building this inventory there, which is good because we want inventory. We should have about 300. We need to build that inventory. But that delta in asking price versus sold price in West Lafayette, maybe some sellers are starting to test the upper range of what they can ask for their homes and discovering that buyers do have a ceiling. Is it what kind of ceiling is it? I don't think it's it's certainly not a brick ceiling or glass. I think it might be a paper ceiling, really thin, easy to bust through. That the larger market at large could move us through that really quickly, unexpectedly. The Fed has said that they're thinking about one interest rate cut later this year, but they are trying really hard to manage inflation across the entire economy. And as a dad with boys, let me tell you, our supermarket shopping trips, I don't even look at the receipts. I don't want to know. So they're trying to manage those prices. So on the side effect of that is that housing is continuing to be expensive, driven by factors outside of the local markets. So are these home sellers going to get what they're asking? Yeah, in some cases, like I said, some people will sell their firstborn to get into the West Lafayette School Corporation. People got to have homes, and when they got to have homes, at some point they will pay what they got to pay to get into it. But on some homes there might be an upper limit, but that is really the testament of why you need a local realtor to be your advocate and walk you through that process. And I would love to be your local Lafayette real. I would love to be your local Lafayette real estate resource of choice. If you're interested in the market, if you're interested in buying or selling, whether it's because you're moving here or because you're ready to move up to the next bigger house, or if you're ready to downsize, if your kids have moved on from the nest, if they've graduated high school and they're starting their freshman year, give me a call or a text. My information, I always do this wrong. Here we go, left hand. Information is below. You can actually scan that QR code, with your phone and get all my information there, or my cell and email are there. You can call or text me at 765-413-6190. But hit that like and subscribe button so that you don't miss out on us next week. We'll be here at 7 o'clock with At Lafayette Live. So until then, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next week.